So why diets don't work and what actually does. Diets are based, or look at why force fails, flow wins, and how your hormones, not your willpower, will decide the outcome. Willpower wanes, force is false, and compulsion crumbles. Like, these things are shaky ground to stand on. And you know this because every time you go on a diet, you cannot wait to be done. You cannot wait. All right. What's up, everybody? Weekly webinar coming at you. We're talking about nutrition again this week. And this one, I'm going to be gloating a little bit, just to be forewarned. And let me share my screen. But it's a super important, super relevant topic. I was talking to a dude yesterday who's all fired up because as a 20-year-old dude, mind you, all fired up. He just hired his first bodybuilding coach. He wants to compete in a year. He wants to compete in 1 year. And his coach has him on a strict meal plan, on a strict training plan. And his meal plan, the reason I found this all out is because he was texting his coach asking him if Tabasco sauce was okay as a condiment. Now, Tabasco sauce is essentially calorie-free, and it's a staple in bodybuilding prep as a way to put some flavor into your food, because he wasn't allowed to put onions or garlic or anything like that in this food, which would, provide some flavor, because his coach was concerned about bloating. Remember what I said? He's 1 year out from a potential bodybuilding show that he hasn't even signed up for yet. And his coach is concerned about bloating. Essentially, I held back somewhat, but essentially what I told this guy is, you have a long road ahead of you, my friend. If your coach is cutting onions and garlic now, it's not going to be fun. And I don't want to burst your bubble or slander somebody who I don't know at all, but probably not a good coach, because there's absolutely no reason that I can see as to why cutting that so early in the game is going to have any impact whatsoever on how you're going to look on stage in a year. Unreal. I was eating, foods that, quote unquote, they do cause bloat, but I was eating bloat-inducing, inflammation-inducing foods 4 weeks before I stepped on stage, and I still got a medal. So all that to say, bodybuilding is an extreme example of a trend that is so common in fitness that I cannot stand, which I'll get into. Here we go. So why diets don't work and what actually does. Diets are based, or look at why force fails, flow wins, and how your hormones, not your willpower, will decide the outcome. Reach it. Here we go. So same person, two modes. A year ago, that was me on the left. I was doing exactly what this kid was doing, except not for an entire year, mind you. I was doing it for super strict 4 months, because who gives a fuck if you're bloated during your build phase? You're trying to pack on as much muscle as possible. I look jacked, definitely. Lean, conditioned, cool. Got myself a medal, like I said. Here's me yesterday on the right. No diet whatsoever. None. Arguably more jacked. Arguably more conditioned. You can see veins. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 monstrous veins in my abs. None of those are present on the picture on the left. And I'm not even flexing on the picture on the right. So what the fuck is going on? Why has everyone bought the concept that doing this crazy, restrictive, compulsive, desperate, forceful diet, why do people think that's the way to go? And why does it fail? Why do I look better not dieting at all? Because it's not the nutrition at the end of the day that makes the big difference. It's how you approach it. Yeah, that makes the difference. And let's get into exactly what I mean by that. So I'm going to keep using the bodybuilding diet example because it's the most extreme version that we have. But every diet in the same vein, you restrict and you force yourself to do a certain set of things, and then you shame yourself when you don't achieve those set of actions to a T. You fuck up your diet, shame on you. If you eat a cookie you're not supposed to, shame on you. If you eat cheese and you're doing Whole30, fuck you, right? You're a failure. Well, no, not quite. But that's the dogma that we've been fed If you want results, it's all willpower, it's all grind. And and I, thinking out loud, probably bodybuilding is what kicked this whole thing into motion, because I don't think that people were really doing diets prior to the rise of bodybuilding as a sport in the 70s and 80s. No one really, the gym culture didn't exist, diet culture didn't exist, and not to mention like all the reasons why we have to spend hours out of our day being intentional about our food and being intentional about our movement. A lot of that stuff didn't exist either. The process, all the processed ingredients, all the, artificial this and that, a super sedentary lifestyle. But that's a conversation for a different webinar, right? But bodybuilding, training, and diet is the exemplar for where we see this force and compulsion and willpower paradigm play out. And the big secret is that all of this is engineered to make you look as good as possible for 5 hours on contest day for a super limited window of time, and you sacrifice all else in order to achieve that. You literally incur metabolic damage and sometimes permanent hormonal distress, oftentimes for those 5 hours. Is that worth it? More to the point, if you're not going to compete, why do that? Why put yourself through that? Okay, most of you guys don't care about competing, but you get the point that I'm trying to make, because diets do the same thing. Diets are like, I need to lose 10 pounds by my vacation, or else. Same thing. You're going to do whatever it takes to achieve a finite outcome, and you're going to sabotage your health long term. You're going to actually make it harder. You're going to look worse by trying to make yourself look better for that brief span of time, or that deadline. Okay. But no one really counts the cost. Because no one's talking about this the way I am. At least I haven't heard it. And as we've all seen, I'm sure experienced, willpower wanes, force is false, and compulsion crumbles. Like, these things are shaky ground to stand on. And you know this because every time you go on a diet, you cannot wait to be done. You cannot wait. And when you do cheat or refeed or finish your diet or whatever, you rebound hard. You drink all the beer. You eat all the pizza, all the ice cream, because you're basically willpower vacuum. So there's got to be a better way. Well, actually, we're not even there yet. So beyond the psychological impacts that we talked about, there is a physiological impact, a profound physiological impact to dieting this way, to losing weight this way. And that is essentially chronic stress. We all know that stress is bad, but we don't really know how bad stress is or how it's bad. Because if we did, we would play the game much differently. And I had the blessing, I guess, the opportunity, like I found out, and that's why I do things differently. That's the only reason, because I was the king of diets. I'll never forget, going through these cycles where I would eat whatever I want, get fat, and then decide to go on a diet. And the day before, right, one time I was at home with my parents and my brother, and I knew it was like a Sunday, and I knew that I was going to go on a diet the next day. And I was like, guys, let's go to Pizza Mia, and I'm going to get 2 steak bombs. I'm going to get a steak bomb and a large pepperoni pizza, because tomorrow I can't have any of that. That was me. So unless you think that I haven't been through the muckety muck, that's my story. And I paid the price, and I tanked my hormones, actually. And this version of me, the one on the right, is after years of choosing to play the game differently. So you get yourself into this desperate, compulsory willpower sort of zone, which creates chronic stress, because you're constantly obsessing about, I shouldn't eat this, but I really want to. Am I going to go over my calories? When is my next cheat meal? Am I going to be able to restrain myself at the brewery this weekend for dinner? What am I going to bring to the lake? Should I? All these questions, right? And that's just pouring stress into your already overstressed lifestyle. And the problem is that stress has a cost. So let's talk about cortisol for a second. Cortisol is a highly important regulatory hormone, highly important. And it's not all bad. You need cortisol. Cortisol is a signal. You just don't need that signal all the time. So the image on the left, the graph on the left, shows what a ideal curve would be for cortisol concentration throughout the day. When you wake up, it spikes. Well, when you wake up, it's high, and then it spikes within 60 to 120 minutes of being awake. And that gets you geared up for the day. That gets you energized, dialed in, ready to go, right? But then what's supposed to happen is that as the day progresses, that cortisol spike is supposed to flatten out, so that by the end of the day, Your cortisol has now bottomed out and you're ready to sleep, and you get a good night's sleep and you recover, and then your cortisol is ready to spike all over again in the morning. What happens is that we've so exacerbated cortisol in our day-to-day life because of constant messages, constant access, like over responsibility, over activity. Like our cortisol is already basically just kind of like elevated all day long, and it's flatlining. It never goes down. It never goes down because there's always fear, there's always stress, there's always anxiety, there's always the next thing, there's always the to-do list that never gets any shorter. And then we add, we're worrying about our diet and our health and our exercise, and what's going to happen if I don't get my shit together in 15 years? I'm going to be pre-diabetic, and I'm going to have my leg amputated. This is the life we live. And cortisol, like I said, is a control. And when cortisol is chronically elevated, it has a deleterious effect on all these other systems. And anabolism and testosterone down, growth hormone down, thyroid stimulating and thyroid hormone down, and insulin storage up, the grim reaper of your results, because all of these systems are what regulate you looking good, feeling good, and being able to perform at your best. So you could be nailing your diet even. You could be doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, but worrying about it and completely negating the effects of the diet. You could be avoiding all the processed foods. You could be eating all the vegetables and all the whatever, all the kale, and still be harming your system because of chronic stress. So it's your environment, it's your mindset, it's all of these factors that your body is responding to, rolled into one, that determine whether you're in an anabolic state or in a catabolic state. Anabolic means building up, catabolic means breaking down. Picture on the left, catabolic. Picture on the right, anabolic. So what's the alternative? Well, if the whole diet paradigm isn't working because of the psychological and physiological effects, well, we need something different. We need habit stacking. So and habit stacking has to do with flow. It has to do with power. It's not a game of force anymore. It's not a game of discipline. It's a game of alignment. It's a game of sustainability and consistency. And when you do those things, when you stack habits, when you stay happy, when you feel like you are living the life that you choose, good things happen. You put yourself in an anabolic state. Path on the left, chosen for me. Path on the right, I chose. So you're not trying to follow a perfect plan. What you're trying to do is you're trying to become the person who just does the right things automatically, naturally. That's it. And so the only way that you can do that is by stacking habits one at a time. Because if you try to do them all at once, nothing sticks. But if you do them one at a time, you set it, put the reps in, it becomes second nature, then you move on to the next. It's a longer play, I get it. If you need to lose 10 pounds in 3 weeks, habit stacking is not going to work. But if you want to be your ideal weight for the next 10 years, habit stacking is the only choice. So here's a set of fundamental habits. They are not sexy. That's the entire point. You've heard them all before. And they coincide with the fit for the resilience method that we teach. As you may recall, the resilience method is training, nutrition, recovery, and mindset. So number one, recovery, that's sleep. It's the most anabolic thing you can do. We've talked about that in another webinar. Don't skimp. Number two, stress regulation. This pertains to the mindset. So in addition to controlling these environmental factors that we talked about a little bit, how diet affects psychology and affects mindset, just zoom out and mindset, make that something that you check in with on a regular basis. How stressed are you? Scale of 1 to 10. Like right now, how stressed are you on a scale of 1 to 10? If maximum stress is a 10 and you're anything above a 6, you're not anabolic. You can do all the work you want in the gym, all the restriction and diet that you want, and it will not work for you. It may work for a minute, but eventually all those key hormonal systems that we touched on are going to downregulate to the point where you will plateau. And probably you already have. And probably that's why you're watching this webinar, if you still are. Okay, number 3, protein. I don't know what else to say. If you're not eating a gram of protein per pound of body weight by now, don't do anything else. Like, don't worry about fucking peptides. Don't worry about your fucking body part split. Don't worry about, what's your ideal fat burning heart rate Stop. Eat protein. Number 4, movement. Again, don't make it complicated. Because the work that you do in the gym only really accounts for 10% of your total metabolic load anyways, barring, of course, the chronic adaptations to resistance training, which increases muscle cross-sectional area, which will give you a higher basal metabolic rate over time. But that is, like I said, a chronic adaptation. That's not happening to you right away. So it really is not that important. Your split is not that big a deal. I'm sorry. Just get the movement in. And for the love of God, like, food is fuel. Food is love. Let it be love. Like, love yourself with your food, which means eat good food, but also eat healthy food. Probably a lot of the food that you're eating is not love. You're not loving yourself by eating that thing. So why are you doing it? If you're eating food that you know is not good for you, then that must mean that you don't love yourself as much as you may think. So why else would you give yourself that, put that in your body? That's a webinar for another day. Okay. And if you, this last point here is actually good. So if you are refeeding strategically, AKA you've planned times to enjoy some potentially less than optimal foods, pizza, burgers. I think burgers are optimal, honestly, but whatever that is for you, chips, ice cream sandwich. But that's inside of a plan that you set for yourself. Don't feel guilty about it, because the guilt itself is going to be more harmful than whatever extra calories that you just fed yourself. That's the entire plan. You can stop watching this right now. I should just end on that. But I love to hear myself talk, so here we go. This is just another way of saying consistency. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Oh, that was the end. There you go. So what's one thing I'd love to know, that one way you've been forcing it that either isn't aligned with your goals or your lifestyle or how you prefer to operate, and therefore is not sustainable? And then I can help you tease out like what a habit stack would be that would provide you with that same benefit, and that would be aligned, that you can do consistently, that will put you in a more positive anabolic state. I hope this helps you guys. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll catch you next week. Go get it.